Bitcoin bears are quivering in disbelief as more banks continue to collapse, further strengthening the narrative Bitcoin Moon Boys have believed in since its inception. And as predicted, the end of the banking crisis is not over. In fact, it is only just beginning. The return of the baby bulls has been prophesized for centuries, dating all the way back to the ancient Egyptians. And let's just say, the great bust is closer than ever. Right now, the Bitcoin price continues to trade nearly sideways, but some absolutely critical developments that will 1000% play into the rest of this week and the rest of this year, and potentially the rest of eternity, as what's going on right now in the banking sector. And not to mention, in less than 24 hours, we will be receiving the next FOMC meeting, and we will be seeing potentially the very last rate hike of this crisis of the last couple of years. And so this is going to be very big. But in fact, I actually want to start off talking a little bit about that, because is it guaranteed that we'll get a 25 basis point hike? And take advantage of limited time massive bonuses below if you're interested in trading. And without any further ado, let's take a look at this. So Jordan Lindsay tweeting that the June FOMC meeting went from a 35% probability of a 25 basis point hike, meaning the one after the one we're getting tomorrow, so potentially a second one instead of ending tomorrow, went from a 35% probability to a 23% chance in less than 24 hours. You know, is this impacted by the fact that, guys, what we've been saying, what we've been hearing for the last month is true. The banking crisis is not over. So, just because we go a couple weeks without hearing about a new bank completely implode doesn't mean anything. Again, not even probably maybe even only half of the rate hikes that we've gotten over the last year have even been fully realized, right? It can take 12 to 18 months for these rate hikes to fully impact the markets. Keep in mind, we had 4 75 basis point hikes in a row. Okay, so this is putting so much pressure on the banks. And as we're seeing today, we're continuing to see more and more banks, regional banks, completely get slaughtered. In fact, we're going to be looking exactly at those, but we see the VIX up 21%. CBOE intraday equity put-to-call ratio is 1.13. Low volatility, large caps are outperforming. High bid appears by almost 1%, a bunch of gobbledygook, but basically, people are getting scared, is what a lot of these cumulative numbers mean. And they should be, realistically. The U.S. banking crisis, highlighted here by Mario Nawfal on Twitter, shares of major U.S. regional banks fell further today after the collapse of First Republic, the largest U.S. bank failure since 2008. We see PacWest Bancorp tumbling 30%, Western Alliance Bank and KeyCorp falling over 20%. Or 20% for Western Alliance, 10% for KeyCorp. Experts warning that if a confidence crisis can happen to First Republic, which it did, it can happen to any bank in the country. And analysts from Evercore ISI speculate on the implications of JP Morgan being the government's first line of defense in the event of such a crisis. Things will get much worse if the Fed does not pivot. And tomorrow, this comes perfect timing, really. Crazy timing. Because in less than 24 hours, the Fed has a decision to make. Will they raise 25 basis points? Because as I just highlighted, not only is it pretty much expected up until right now that they will raise basis points tomorrow, it's also, as I just highlighted, there's about a 1/3 chance, or about a 30% roughly chance, that they will raise it again next month by 25 basis points. But again, we saw that drop to about a quarter instead of a third, down to a quarter. So, will that drop to zero? In fact, is it possible? Is it guaranteed that we'll get a rate hike tomorrow? I believe we will. I believe if the Fed was smart, they wouldn't. But I believe the Fed will do the rate hike. But if we take a look here also, PacWest reporting a $1.2 billion loss in quarter one, $5.7 billion decline in deposits, down from about $34 billion down to about $28 billion, $8 billion in uninsured deposits. Why would you keep your deposits there above the FDIC insurance limit? Why would you? Well, a lot of people aren't, and that's one of the reasons the deposits are getting blown away here. And again, it's just highlighted here. We're doing it again, aren't we? PacWest, Western Alliance, we're seeing more and more banks. As I highlighted about a month ago, there's about 200 other banks that this could happen to also. So again, it's let's say these two collapse also. Is that going to be the end of it? Probably not. Like a very, 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 very small chance that this will be the end of it. This is just the beginning, in my opinion. And what is very interesting and what I really like about this is that immediately on this news, we saw Bitcoin have a little uptick. Now, Bitcoin is not really up that much in general. Actually, compared to the entire year so far, it's doing really well. But over the past week, it's kind of just got a little rejection off 30K. But the important thing about this is not that Bitcoin got a little rejection off 30K. It's more so we are seeing consistent now data for the past month and a half, basically 2 months, that when the banks are in the headlines for collapsing, Bitcoin's price does one thing. It starts going up. And if that is a true trend, if that's a real indicator of what's to come, then we have a lot more going up to do for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin follows that trend, then that is just so bullish. And that's why I'm excited. I don't really care that Bitcoin's up like $500. That's not that much. The reason that I'm excited is because there's an implication there and a trend there and a pattern, and it's very obvious. But also, if we look here, Genevieve on Twitter talking about this, regional banks, some down massively and some down, actually every single name in regional banking ETFs are red. As you can see here, there's a lot of fear. They've over and over again stated they're basically not going to step in to help regional banks. They're just going to get bought up by the banks that they are backing, like JP Morgan. And Will on Twitter talking about the end result of the banking crisis will be increased centralization of deposits and quasi-nationalization of too big to fail banks like JP Morgan. The case for Bitcoin as the decentralized alternative has never been more clear. Again, this is a great moment because, again, fundamentally, I'm excited. Bitcoin is not going up that much, but I am more bullish on Bitcoin than ever, and I'm more, frankly, interested and excited in what's happening than if Bitcoin was at 40K. This, to me, is more exciting because this is a real use case. Even if price isn't 35, 40, 50K right now, I don't think that matters. You have to see the writing on the wall and what is coming because of this, right? It has longer-term implications. This is not a short-term thing. But the combined assets of the 3 bank failures we've seen so far this year equal over $500 billion. It's a new high for a calendar year, surpassing the prior record of $373 billion back in 2008. So already, this banking crisis already makes 2008 look like bananas compared to the sheer amount of money involved here. But I believe this is just getting started. Okay, not to mention, we won't see the full effects of the rate hikes until months after the Fed stops raising rates. And we haven't even stopped seeing them raise rates yet. So the full effects of this, the crunch, the credit crunch, the money supply contraction, we have not seen the full effects of that whatsoever. I don't even think we've seen half of the effects that we're going to see yet. There's so much more to go. But also pivoting a little to Bitcoin, Mustache, El Crypto Prof on Twitter talking about this on the 2-week chart, that when Bitcoin reclaims the 0.236 line, it never again fell back into the red until it touched the green line, which for us would be about 57,000 USD per Bitcoin. Many have a bearish gut feeling at the moment, he says here, but data is fact, and that's why he's bullish. I'm very bullish as well. But we do see Bitcoin holding strong while we see more regional banks absolutely get dunked on. And in fact, I am trading this. Currently, I'm up still about 20,000 USDT in profit. If you're interested, make sure to sign up with the massive limited time bonuses below with BitGet and Femex. But pivoting over to Bitcoin's daily chart, again, right now we're kind of stuck right in between the 21 and 50-day moving average. Again, I'm not very excited about the very short-term price action, but we're seeing the stock market down the SPX is down about 1.5% today, and Bitcoin is currently up. But I don't expect this to be a very substantial price move until we get the FOMC meeting. Imagine this. Because again, there's more pressure on the Fed right now because more banks are failing and more confidence is eroding in the banking sector, which it should be. But I don't think this will happen. But if Jerome Powell comes out tomorrow and if their announcement is no rate hike, I expect Bitcoin to be at least 34K. Like almost instantly. I think a massive pump would happen. I do not think that's going to happen, but it is something that's possible. I would say it's maybe around a 10% chance of happening. So that's not a very good chance, in my opinion. But there is a chance there, especially as more and more pressure gets put on these banks. But I do think they're going to, if for nothing else, they're going to do that 25 basis point hike tomorrow simply because they know if they don't, these markets will erupt because people are waiting for this. Everyone in the financial world is waiting for this. But yeah, Bitcoin right now is still straddling this long-term, about a month-long actually about a month and a half long level of resistance, turned support, and now turned into potential resistance if we can't flip this here. Right now it's kind of just holding right on this line actually. So technically at this very second, it is technically is support. But yeah, I mean, still, we're just sitting within this range here. Bitcoin itself getting closer and closer on some of these longer-term time frame charts to having, you know, bullish cross, bullish momentum confirmation. We just got on the monthly chart a MACD bullish cross here. I think there's going to be massive volatility this week. So I personally don't see I don't see a clear picture of which direction we're going to be heading in the next few days. I don't think it's very important. I trade even for more for the long term. I hold and trade for more long term anyway. I don't day trade. I think that's just incredibly risky, and you know, in the past I've found it way too difficult to be consistently successful doing, as many people also will tell you that. But yeah, right now I think as we head into this FOMC meeting, there is that small chance that the Fed has too much pressure on it to where they might pivot, but I just don't think they will. And I think this has to be the last rate hike. Okay. Because again, what is their strategy here? That's what's really blowing my mind. What is their strategy? Literally just keep collapsing all the banks and having JP Morgan buy them all, and then JP Morgan will be the only bank in the world, or in America, in the US? Like, what is the strategy? There's so much corruption there. It's hard to really determine what exactly they're going for. And you have to even wonder, do they know what they're doing? Do they know what they're going for? Is it going to be like a one world bank, a one world government type thing? Yeah, maybe, probably, who knows? But like, are they intelligent enough for that? Maybe. I really don't know. And I don't think anyone should say 100% they know exactly what's going to happen. Because if the people in charge really wanted you to have absolutely no control over anything, and they were as intelligent as you think they were, Bitcoin would have been crushed years ago. Because Bitcoin gives people the smallest amount of freedom that the people at the top have been trying to take, or have successfully been taking away since the beginning of mankind. And if you're interested in longing or shorting the market, make sure to check out the links popping up right now. There are tutorials popping up. It takes 30 seconds to sign up. And without any further ado, that's it for me.